I think that it's no surprise that Sonic the Hedgehog is one of the most recognizable video game characters of all time. Sonic has an immediately recognizable silhouette, and for a period of time in the 90s it's more recognizable than Mickey Mouse and various other characters. And speaking of the 90s, Sonic artwork back then was phenomenal. It explains his personality without even having to say anything. It had a cool airbrush effect, and the box art complemented the artwork well, with the abstract shapes and colors. There's a lot going on, but not where it's overwhelming. Nice designs, great colors, and good box art. I love it. Now, forget everything I said and look at this. Now, the Sonic art I was talking about was from Japan. But unlike other video game characters, he was changed in many drastic ways to appeal to the audience of America. And like everything else in the world, fans are split on whether they like it or not. While it's good and such, do we really need a redesign of a character that looks good enough about it? We'll find out, as in this video, I'll look over both designs, how they were created, compare them to one another, explain how they stood the test of time, and answer the question, to design is really necessary. Somewhere between the late 1980s and the early 90s, a man named Naoto Oshima created his newest character of the time, Mr. Needlemouse. Technically, this was a mistranslation as his name was Mr. Hedgehog, but I call him Needlemouse because it sounds cooler in my opinion. And of course, as you all know, this soon became Sonic the Hedgehog. But the classic art style came a long way to become what it came to be, because there was a handful of sketches that Oshima and many other artists had made for concepts. And some ideas weren't even Sonic, like the infamous bunny design, an armadillo, a bear, and even human twins. Over time, Oshima refined the design a bit more and eventually shaped it into the design we know today. For example, giving Sonic 6 twins, giving Sonic 6 spikes instead of the thousands of spikes in the concepts, significantly shortening the rat-to-like tail, and giving Sonic tan arms. In the early stages of Sonic 1's development, Sonic actually had blue arms in the game. But because of hardware limitations at the time, it made him look like his hands were floating, so they made his arms tan to compromise. Now, I don't know for sure if the tan arms was something that Oshima came up with from the get-go, but it probably wasn't. I'm pretty sure he was in his office one day and someone came in saying, "Hey, so the Hedgehog's arms can't be seen when playtesting, any ideas?" And Oshima said, "Make his arms tan or something, I don't know." Honestly, I kind of prefer when Sonic has tan arms rather than blue, but, you know, different strokes for different folks. And while Oshima did the sketches, the person who actually did the airbrush to shade in the artwork was a man named Akira Watanabe. He's a guy that I don't really hear much about when people talk about the 90s Sonic artwork, and that's really bad, because this is one of my favorite artwork in the entire series. It used the airbrush for shading it and giving the dark areas a cool fade effect. As the games went on, the style had lighting effects to make it look more realistic and defined, with the very 90s-like abstract and colorful backgrounds, with inspirational text for each game. Now, a lot of people talked about this text, and by a lot of people I mean Cyrus Shell and some call me Johnny, so I'm gonna talk about these really quickly. Don't just sit there and waste your precious time. When you want to do something, do it right away. Do it when you can. It's the only way to live a life without regrets. I really enjoy Sonic CD's text because I always recite it in my head for some reason. To live a life of power, you must have the faith for what you believe in, even when others tell you you're wrong. The first thing you must do to live a life of power is find courage. You must be ready to reach beyond the boundaries of time itself, and to do that, all you need is the will to take that first step. My god, do you take wisdom from Master Splinter or something? Well, apparently it wasn't enough, since in Sonic 3 there was no inspirational text at all, and in Sonic and Knuckles, it's just telling a story of some sort. Sonic races through the green fields, the sun races through the blue sky with white clouds. The way of his heart are much like the sun. Sonic runs and sets, the sun rises and sets. Don't give up on the sun. Don't make the sun laugh at you. What? I guess I see what they're trying to say, but it's like... What? Anyway, other than box art, the shading style was used for promotional art in different Sonic media that was done by Oshima himself, and you can find some of these images on Sonic Origins. But, after Sonic 3 on its own, the art style was stopped being used for box art, and got replaced by CGI. 2D artwork hadn't been used until the late 90s with Sonic Adventure, but I won't be talking about that until another video. I really like this style and wish it could be used in more Sonic media. The last time it was used was for Origins, and while it was good, I will always prefer the darker colors to the 90s artwork. The style is something that any Sonic fan enjoys. It was the very first artwork for the franchise and it holds up really well, and many Sonic media has recreated this artwork, like comic art and recreations with Mania and Origins. On a scale, I'd give the Japanese Sonic artwork a 10 out of 10. The artwork gradually gets better and better with each game, and it aged extremely well for the first official art style of the characters. Like I said in the beginning, before it was released to the public, the people at Sega decided to change Sonic's design to fit to the 90s American audience that they were selling the game to. This wasn't something that was new. Many companies tried to give video game characters sharp and edgy designs because that's what they thought the audience wanted. Sometimes it worked, other times it made the box art look worse. But it didn't matter, Sonic was getting a redesign whether you liked it or not. And they decided to get a famous Western artist, Greg Martin, a guy who already had experience drawing video game box art. But did you know that Greg Martin actually didn't have his art shown in the original Sonic the Hedgehog box art? It was actually done by a man named Greg Ray, who had his art done months before Martin. I just want to thank this YouTuber for mentioning Ray in the Mohawk Sonic video because I wouldn't have figured that out without him, so check him out. He basically took the original art from Oshima and refined it to his own style. He has his fans and his haters. People don't like the more noticeable pot-bellied and the JP art, the fat fingers and more chubby proportions, and the repetitive smut used for every piece of art made for him. And of course the infamous Mohawk. But I can't help but find some charm to this art style. Am I biased? Of course I am. That's a given living in the West. But let me express my opinion on it. Talk about things I like, things that frustrate me. Just like the Japan art, the US uses an airbrush for shading and to add highlights to characters, which I always like. While the backgrounds for the US aren't as wacky and crazy as the Japanese backgrounds to get the job done and show the stage for the respective games. Sonic 1 shows Green Hill, CD shows Stardust Speedway, and 3 shows Angel Island. Every game has this but Sonic 2, but that's a good thing because it's just as well as everything else. Sonic and Tails behind a giant number 2 that is being crushed by a just as giant Dr. Robotnik. Yes, we're not there yet. Next time. For every piece Martin did, it always had Sonic right in the middle of the art with a simple pose. You might think it's boring, but I think it makes him look imposing and it makes him feel like, yeah, this man's cool. Of course, you had Robotnik somewhere in the background doing something crazy. People complain that US Sonic's always doing the repetitive smile in every piece of Greg's work, but I don't mind. It shows that he's a badass and cocky. His face pretty much was the best part of the art. It has things that I myself as an artist would follow. One eye being bigger than the other, the sharper looking eyes. Other than the unnecessarily curvy ears, I love it. Now all the things that suck, which is a lot. Not really. Metal has a mouth. Need I say more? Most of the characters other than Sonic, in my opinion, looks pretty bad. I don't know why. It just looks weird to me. It looks too Disney-like to me. It doesn't really fit with what the character should look like in my opinion. But other than that, that's about it. The art style was used as a basis for the 3 sources of Sonic media at the time. The Archie comics mimicked the chubbiness in Mohawk spikes, but as the issue numbers grew, the style began to look more like the Japan art style. Sadayama and Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog created character sheets to make it look like Martin's design, but refined it more to be consistent for animation. I grew up watching Adventures at TH and that's how I drew Sonic for a long time, and I have nothing but thanks for it. As for the future of the art style, Greg Martin unfortunately passed away in 2013, so fans are dedicated to recreating this art style, and for good reasons. For 10 years in the West, this was how Sonic was considered to look until Uekada took over, and it kind of faded away into existence, not really getting as much attention from Sega as the JP style, and that's really sad, because this was the go-to of Sonic's designs in the 90s. I hope that one day if we get another port, like a remake solely based off porting of only the 8-bit Sonic games, which is very unlikely, I hope the style could be recreated in the box art so it could see the light of day again. I'd give the style a 7 out of 10. It has its flaws that the Japanese style does better, but I still love it either way. but I would make the other characters a bit less Disney-like and more like the JP designs, just saying. So, what do I think? Was Sonic's redesign a good thing that happened? Should Sega just could have kept his Japanese design? Was Sonic's redesign really necessary? Yeah, I think so.
You've wasted so much of my time.
Look, Sonic's design in Japan is really good. It stood the way for what Sonic should look like, but American Sonic's has more edge to it. And still has elements that paved the way for it too. And plus, it's fun to see Sega experiment with Sonic's design. This was the first time they did that, and without it, you probably wouldn't get redesigns like Adventure's redesign. It still doesn't mean Japan's design isn't better in my opinion, but I still love them. And at the end of the day, it's still Sonic. And that's all that matters. I might do a video comparison of these styles compared to Adventure style, so let me know. I'd love to see your comments. And now that I'm looking back at the scripts, now that I'm looking back at these scripts, make sure you watch my last 2 streams, because they're pretty funny.
Wait, no, wait!
Be sure to look out for the next one, too. Make sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Oh, by the way, we don't talk about this.